thing. I like those money, but that's why I'm stressed by this. So I apologize, but wanted to make the commissioners meeting at its beginning. So it's pretty filled up. We'll come back.
Don't feel bad, Dave. At least you don't have a wound conflict.
So we're basically in regular session, but we're starting with our budget workshop. And I just want everybody to understand that this is not the budget hearing, this is the budget workshop. We're not gonna call every department in. We made a list of the ones that we wanted to call in. We're gonna start with the sheriff department. And what I'd like to do, if the commission or council agrees with this, I'd like to be fairly expeditious with this, you know, with some of the budgets that haven't changed a lot like we've done in the past. So we have Rachel joining us as she overlapped obviously with most of that time with, you know, working in auditor's office. And so they've already gone through also, so they can highlight for us which ones, as we've done in the past, that we can, you know, work more quickly on and kind of do some blanket approvals too. So.
Yeah, and I did highlight, so in your guys' packet, I did highlight anything that they're not. Never mind. Okay. Never mind. I'll point them out.
So if you turn to page 2, you can see the sheriff's budget. With the submitted budget, right, going there, what's the percentage increase? 3%, that's including 7%. That's the payroll increase. So what's the, if we put the 3% in, what's the total increase for the total budget with everything that everybody's at? Which is 10% increase. So yeah, we've got some. Obviously, some people didn't listen, so let's see.
No,
Being conservative with the budgets. Okay. So what we're, just so the council knows what we're looking at now. Everything that's submitted here is obviously when we look at the sheriff department, there's already a raise there. All these are 3%. It's not, nothing's exceeding.
No, everything was figured at 3%.
Okay, and then do you want to walk us through anything else that
So, yeah, I need to kind of start with the papers I gave you this morning because I did screw up. It is not any more than a 3% raise. I meant to submit the papers I gave you this morning and instead I submitted just the ones that you already have. The ones that you have this morning are the 3% raise for everybody, but we had some money that we just wanted to move. I didn't add any additions to it. It's just something that's been in the budget the last couple of years that hasn't been used where it's been. We wanted to reallocate that to kind of change the stair steps between our different, and these guys are here to help explain, to raise the pay amounts between our different, like, lieutenant, our different stages.
Just in between deputy.
the pay range?
Correct.
So
Right.
are we saying that we want to change the range or you want to move people? You're trying to,
I'm trying to put it, I'm trying to put it over here, trying to add. So what we're trying to do is make it fair, right? So right now we have a top of the scale, like a deputy making like 56 right now, currently 55. So when you have an officer that's coming in and pretty much starting off entry level, no police academy experience, that person should be from 0 to 3 years, make this amount. However, when you go through the matrix, you get between 3 and 6, you can make this amount.
Yeah.
Starting off lower,
yeah, I
but then.
thought we did do that. I thought we did that. Our plan was to do that. So we
That's all.
So walk us through this. How much is that gonna cost? It's like,
So we've got, there was in our 1,000.27 budget, there was $10,700 that hasn't been used where it was allotted to. So I'd like to move that to the 1,005 budget for these positions. And there's $1,200 that has been allotted to the merit board in the 1,000.5 budget. That is an allowable commissary expense. So if we use that, that would just move the 11,900 to these positions that I gave them.
So we're trying to figure out a way to pay for it.
so how much is coming out of commissary total then for?
1,200 for the merit board, baseline for the merit board, because the merit board gets paid by the meeting, so I can't say, I mean, if we.
What's the total amount you're paying personnel?
The merit, out of commissary, the merit board gets $50 a meeting.
We're not paying any salary.
Yeah.
So you're not moving any subs?
No,
That's what I was.
it's just the mayor's board expense that's an allowable commissary expense, so we would like to take that $1,200 that we're budgeted instead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Used to you guys paid you guys paid the merit board, now they've been doing that.
Yeah. Yeah,
That makes sense.
so just trying to help cover the budget stuff, but
Trying to figure out a way to pay.
Is that on the list of allowable expenses?
it is on the list of allowable expenses. So that was that for the, as far as like moving that money to change those positions. It wasn't adding any additional money to fill the 3% raise that we were set to figure in, but it's just moving that
That
money to
makes sense.
change
So,
that.
so
Okay.
let's go more rudimentary.
Okay.
Your 2024 budget was almost 1.1 million. You're asking for 1.37 million for 2025. So let's talk about, obviously the part of that's personnel impact, but we're saying to go. The way it's still your line for personnel by 3%.
Right.
We're moving it.
Correct.
We're okay with
Right.
that. But how are we getting to 8%?
Well,
Increasing your budget?
So,
We're asking to get.
Yeah.
So.
that's a different budget.
But anyway, we need those deputies, because for one, when we lost the grant from Healthway, we lost PJ's position. It just so happened that we had another guy quit, so he was able to fill that in, but we're still missing that one position. If we were able to get 2 people, then we'd be able to build our drug unit up. And we are knocking them dead on our drug unit right now, but we're running out of people. We just don't have enough guys.
That's just some interviews. I recommend you guys for what you're doing with the job.
We're doing really good.
So,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I don't want to butt in, but for one, we underfunded. For two, we don't even have a shift minimum. So in order for us to have a shift minimum of 3 people, somebody call off, we have 2 people, we need to have like a split shift guy on each shift. That'll help with vacations, that'll help with calls, that'll help when gas come in. So it's not an actual one, it's something we need right now. We have guys that come, we have done everything strategically to pretty much answer calls, focus on the drug problem, and run guys basically ragged. We have guys with a lot of vacation. We have a lot of people that's not working. We boosted up our part-time roster. Nobody come out. Jack been have to work patrol, even myself, was taken away from other duties. The state of Indiana Law Enforcement Training Board has put us under a microscope with compliance issues, so somebody have to address that. So in order for us to really be effective and efficient in our roles, we need a splitter on each shift. That'll help with vacation time. We have a lot of guys with vacation and to fill in the gaps instead of running one gap for this whole county. It's a safety issue and it's dangerous and we need extra personnel. Let me finish real quick. I'm sorry, but appreciate you letting us be here. But in order for us to effectively do our job in this county, a county this size, we need more than 1 to 2 people running from the Jasper County line all the way to St. Joe County line. I understand it's a budget thing. I understand personnel increase other things. But long term, I think this will save the county money. I think it will help reduce liability because we can effectively train the individual when we hire them off the street to go out and be a proactive patrol officer and understand their job instead of getting these frivolous lawsuits that's been hitting us as well. So what I ask for you here in the council is I appreciate it if you could just think about it instead of a fast no, maybe a slow yes.
Yes, my question is, how much would that decrease the overtime? Allotment?
Right now, at this point, by the end of June, we used the $45,000. As of June 12th, or I'm sorry, July 12th, we were at $48,000 in overtime already for the year.
That's also
So-
because you've got people that quit.
Well, we've got to have, our positions at this point, we've got to get people into work, so.
Squad too.
Having more.
And insurance, like there's.
There's a committee. Yeah.
Necessary, right? And Tony, though, asked last year at budget hearing times or budget workshop times about utilizing the reserve. Are we still doing that?
So-
I don't hear about that.
Yeah.
anymore.
Well, Dave, it's just like Masons and everything else that we know about, there's a lot of people just don't want to volunteer. I mean,
It was full. No, we don't have, what do we got, 4?
hey, It's hot, sometimes people aren't as, they don't go to stuff as much as they
Right.
should.
Yeah.
This is just myself out loud. I think we do need to replace PJ's position. It's unfortunate about the health link thing, but I thought we were gonna try to get the health link grant back in its appropriate way.
For.
For the council.
They will not get for the, yeah, they won't do the officer.
What does it take for us to get back on that too? Because we need that counseling component in the jail.
We need to find somebody that's got a master's degree that will work.
Get everything else out. I'm not doing that.
It's not gonna.
No, yeah, well, I know, but you're laughing at that, but that's.
I mean, I'm not thinking she knows that it's not gonna happen, that's what we've been.
Yeah.
So
you know, yeah.
And now the never,
Get with me on
Yeah,
that.
I'm good with that.
But
They
the
can
thing
bill
is,
insurance.
8% is a big
Right.
jump, like.
Right.
Our budget's not gonna go up by 8%, in fairness to their departments, we're looking at, Bill, the need to replace one. Just me thinking out loud and, you know, and understanding, spending a lot of time with the other sheriff's department too, and understanding his needs. I think if we look at a plan and just like your suggestion. Start with the one this year and look at funding the second one next year. Again, there are people in the audience possibly or on social media that aren't gonna like this, but we've got some funding coming in the county next year that's gonna start impacting our budget, starting next year. But then the year after that, 26, a big impact to our budget. So I think if we plan that out, but I think at the very least, starting out with replacing PJ with the one. And then making a plan next year and then phasing in the next budget with the second one, I think is an effective way to do it. Then the sheriff has an opportunity to try to, buy that car. We can stabilize our insurance costs because that's one of the things too that we often don't talk about. Are the benefits that come with each position. I was just having that discussion earlier with Mary about the BZA position. I don't know, that might be one plan to look at it, and then that's probably only gonna go up 5% or 4%. That might be more tolerable, but that's just me thinking out loud.
Just one, not even financial point, but just for me, because I know these guys have the numbers and everything bigger, to me, it's a safety issue. I mean, I think we need more than, one.
We have a lot of other safety issues across the county and other departments.
Right, I agree, I just don't know any other county officers that, so,
Can I ask a question?
yes,
I'm looking at this sheet,
yes,
okay, and then I'm looking at this sheet,
yes.
and they didn't match. Okay. Here,
I knew they didn't match.
well, no,
Okay.
well, explain to me why. So on this one, it's going to chief deputy, I'm not picking on Jack, he's not here.
He's back.
Yeah, they're-
Oh, there it is, but it's showing his proposed, proposed salary for next year.
Okay,
And that's on here for the 2025, but you've got another one on top of that for another three.
that's because that's the money I was talking about moving, that's what I asked,
So-
that column there.
So that turns the 3 or 4% into like an 8%.
I mean, definitely.
Right.
What we all.
Right.
I understand that.
Saying, 3% on top of that, yeah, I did not
Yeah,
figure, I
I'm
figured
trying
the
to
base
look at-
salary.
We're
amounts,
only
yeah.
gonna give everybody a 3% raise in the whole county. This turns into like 9%.
So so taking this amount,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm just.
so adding
figuring out how
3%
we're doing it.
to the 62 versus 3%, 64, yeah.
Yeah, and,
Put that.
and if we can do it like that. Your retention is probably, I mean, everything's important, but the sheriff's office probably
Very important.
more important than anybody, with maybe the exception of the EMS. You guys are kind of hand in hand.
And.
And I'm not slighting anybody.
We're just trying to, no, we're just trying to get the pay reasonable, I mean, they can, every other neighboring county is, anybody close is way more, I mean, so this was moving money.
I'm not
But
picking.
yeah, no, that's the 3% on top, I understand what you're saying. We do need help.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
because we look,
really do need
when you look at
help.
this budget, the
Yeah.
here is different than what. this
Yeah,
is.
that's why, because
Yeah.
it's, well, and that's my fault,
Yeah.
because I forgot to turn on the right papers, because I thought we were
Is this
doing
the
that in
one
a
you
separate
said?
meeting.
This one here,
This is the mistake one?
yeah,
That is the correct.
this is the one that goes back.
Correct, that's the one that should be correct, yeah, that's the one I meant to turn it. I thought we did that at a separate meeting to move the funds from one to another, so.
Yeah.
I have a question too. The actual amount isn't a huge attention getter. Just wondered that the cost of the cell phones in the proposed budget is gonna double from this past year's, almost double. And I just wondered what the reason was.
So the cell phones, actually, if we had to figure it out, because we actually just got our first cell phones for the office. But the cell phones are actually, so what has been considered in the cell phone bill is laptops, hotspots, iPads and the phones, so all the computer laptops and everything comes out of that line item. Whereas we've had some time, I don't know if Sterling's around, but we've had some time where we have had, not had to pay on that, and now we are going to pay on that, so.
The other jump was in the allowance of the canine handlers. Is it because we have more canines?
It's because we're underfunded on there, because it hasn't been figured in, so actually, they're supposed to get, their overtime amounts, 7 hours every 2 weeks for canine handling. And that wasn't budgeted properly all the way through.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay, you're saying the other computer contract is what we were talking about.
The other computer contract, I actually called everywhere that we have contracts with. Those, building maintenance, computer contracts, those things are where our budget has been grossly underfunded, like as for 2024. So I did go through and I apologize because I didn't realize you didn't get this, but like computer contracts, we've got the time clock, Lieberman. Currently we have a scheduling program, so there's $520 we're gonna be able to take out of that 25,000, but, and then we've got another, a couple different programs, so these are just places where we were underfunded before. So I called them and said, what are we gonna be for 2025? And then I just tallied those all up and put them into that, so.
I don't have a budget status here, so like what bothers me is that we're talking about your overtime going down. But you've increased, almost doubled the overtime budget for next year. So like, if we were to fund the two, then why?
If you wanna fund the two, take some off of overtime and fine.
You have the two funded here already and you didn't reduce it, so that's just,
Well, but you're only at half the year. We've already
Yeah.
used up the whole.
well, that's the problem. I was just saying, I don't know
Yeah.
what the status unfortunately, so.
Well, I did it this morning and we spent $48,000 out of the 45,000 that we were allotted for. So. That's what we had put aside for overtime. So initially we started at like, okay, we're gonna have to double this and then we cut it back some. So
So even if with the 2 extra funded positions, do you anticipate then that?
I do
would
not
be-
anticipate spending that much in overtime if we get the 2 funded positions.
No,
Is
'cause
there
right- oh,
an
go ahead.
estimate that you have in mind, like maybe back to the 45,000 or the
Yeah, I think
26?
that would be fair. I mean,
Yeah.
45.
Well, you did admit you guys
Yeah.
submitted a budget though with the two.
I screwed up. Yeah, I mean, it said, hey, I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a new.
She was transparent.
This is my first time doing this for 14 budgets, so,
Well, no, I didn't hear
Yeah.
anybody ask about the overtime budget, so I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I do, so
I
that
didn't
was,
hear anybody ask.
yeah.
I
No, I
think-
do anticipate that's coming, we will be
That's
able
what
to
she
cut that
said.
way back.
Nothing.
No, I screwed it up on the new ones as well, I didn't.
Patrol corporal though, that's what Todd's asking, those are.
No, those are actually we're creating a new line item for that, we're separating them
Okay.
out of,
Out of the
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, all right.
we thought it would be easy,
2024 money.
right,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah,
This year.
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah.
So the two new ones are based on what
So
salary?
that means the other ones are down there.
53,000, 55,
55,860, right?
yeah, 53, 55.
Well, I actually do that 100. Where that came out of.
We're nothing.
That 117,000, you switched to patrol corporal, where did that come out of?
It came out of the patrol line, out of the patrol deputies line.
Well, 66,000 came out of it. So it came out of that line, it came out of the 6 of new. Yeah.
Hold on a minute.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
So it should come out of there. The corporals, we separated the corporals out of the patrol
Okay,
line.
so that patrolman,
So then, yes,
so that patrolman should
Yeah.
should actually be the 117,794 less.
Yes.
Right? Okay, all right, that makes sense.
So 502 minus that, or 568?
Well, it'd be the 117,794 would come out of the patrolman.
But what I'm saying is the budget also increased from 24 to 25. By 66,000, that's more than 3%.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to make, that's an extra 50.
that's like 12, 15%.
Right, so that's like an extra
So,
person, I'm trying to understand.
Did you stick another officer in there in that?
That almost looks like 3 positions.
Yeah.
No, we don't have three positions, no.
right?
But they've got
We already figured this out.
Patrolman went from 502 to 560.
The money was already figured out.
And it don't have the
There
hundred,
was no additional funding to ask for. It was already figured out
Yeah.
because what we did was when Carolyn left, we took the excess of Carolyn's money, diverted that position into a patrol position. And then the money that was left over, we divvied it up between two guys and supervisors. So there was no extra money in there. It was already
Yeah.
money that was in a budget that was being used for.
the way it's now, you're looking for almost 200,000 more.
Yeah, let's start at the top.
Yeah.
Chief deputy went up 3%. Insane. Patrolman increased by 66,000, which is more than 3%. 12.8%. Chief detective went up by 3%. Then the other addition is this 117,000, so you're looking at like almost 170,000 extra.
I don't
So
see
like-
where you're at 117. I was.
You've got 117 listed.
Yeah.
117,7.
Oh, I see here, okay, I'm sorry.
So you increased your budget for patrolmen by 66,000 total. That's not 3%. So I'm trying to figure out. And that's what
So-
we're talking about now?
Yeah, and you said the 117,000 should have came out of the patrol.
Right.
57536 times 8,
Maybe.
right? That's where you're at? For the patrol deputies.
I'm just looking at your, I
Oh,
don't.
sure, sure.
Because your budget
Right here.
is this specific. This is your budget.
17.
So you and I have different papers, so I don't know what you're like.
This one here is way more than 3%. This one is. This one here is like, see, this one here, they've got it based off of this amount here,
But this is.
which is not the amount here.
Right,
They had, this is like $4,000 more.
Right.
right, so that, what that would have been was.
But this is upload, like today, we need to approve your whole budget, like we need to agree on what your total amount is going into the hearing,
Right.
so. What we're trying to figure out is, because it looks like it's off then, because
Okay.
what we're trying to say is, it sounds like you're saying that. Patrolman, we should have subtracted the 117.
So patrolmen and corporals, it's just, those were, the corporals is just they were in the patrolman line. I mean, they're all patrolmen, right? They just, it was separated for, one, it got separated for accounting purposes, easier to do the payroll code sheets
So
and
let me make
everything, but
this easier
two.
for you to understand what I'm saying though. So if I take,
Email
well, let me.
Okay.
So last year's budget for patrolmen, because we're talking about increasing from the private.
Right.
This year's budget is 502,751.
Okay,
If we add the 117 to that. That's almost 620,000.
You should take the 117
Oh.
out of there. Because it
This
says,
is where I'm going, yeah. So what I'm saying is right now, if you look at it, you've added 117 and 66,000 to that personnel pool of money. So what I want to do now is figure out what it should be, because that's way more, you know, like that's. What I'm saying is your 8% increase may not be as big as what we're talking about either, because.
if the math is right.
Right, so this is why we have these budget here
Right,
workshops.
right.
To help you that.
Right, no, that's why I'm here.
So let's-
Yeah,
Especially while we have you and the sheriff both
Yeah.
there and so much staff here, this is very helpful
Yeah.
for us to figure out what it should be.
so if you take that out of there,
Take
that brings it down to
$568.
$450,000 and 450, 494.
450, 494, and that's without a 3% increase.
Well, so they actually they should take it off of the 24 budget.
No, don't do the 24, because they got it too much, it's got 66.
Yeah.
acres. So take that number and multiply it by 1.03.
We got 568. No, we don't want to, we want to go up to 24.
No, go up 23.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Subtract the 23 and then multiply by 1.03.
That's not. They had.
Yeah.
When you can't use 25.
So,
That's actually-
so we'll take 170.
you just doubled their corporals.
Yeah, we figured it out.
So it should be 340.
So it should have been. 6
Yeah,
deputies and 2 corporals.
yeah, I just doubled the,
That bring patrol to 8.
So help us real quick here then, what the total is for patrol, what's the total for corporal then?
Two, so corporals fall under patrol. So you all,
Yeah.
patrol, you have 8 people, period, okay? 6 of them are just regular deputies, 2 of them are corporals.
No, you've got a separate line you created.
yeah.
Patrol corporals.
That's
Now
what
you're saying you want to add it all
that's what
together.
I'm trying to explain. She added double numbers.
Yeah,
You don't have to explain, I understand what it, help us determine what the
I
numbers
just
are.
need to calculate. Anybody?
Looks like to me.
Tom,
Alright.
you can multiply.
So-
That's how many positions under.
59447 times 2 would be 118, right? Well, are you guys on the, I don't know if you're on the new,
Oh, we need to go off of the 23, right? And then figure out. what it is. Yeah, I mean,
I
24.
double figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to explain.
So
Yeah.
here, let's do this. Okay, so in 24, you had 502, 751, okay, right? That's what you had.
I don't have my 24 budget, with me,
That's what
so
we-
I don't
So,
know.
That's what
so then you said,
Is that for what?
that's which would include the
Okay.
corporal. So
Okay.
the corporals are 107, so we'll subtract 117,794 out of that.
Times 1.03.
Times 1.03. Comes out to be $396,505.71. That's what,
So let's call it 506.
Yeah.
396, 506.
so that's what the patrol budget should be.
Yeah, and then the 117 would be separate.
Yes.
So I need to-
So instead of, okay, so let's look at this. So instead of 568, that should be 396, 506.
Clear as mud. I know.
Okay, so just so the council understands, and
506
what, so Don, what we're doing is, what happened is last year's budget was 502 on some change. So if you take that times 3%. But subtract out the 117, because they're bringing that out of there. That's where we get down to this 396, 506. Leave the 117 there, that right there makes a big impact on their budget. So that's like. $106,000-ish, $106,201, that's to the good for you.
Yeah.
So it's.
Sorry, I'm
it's something
sorry.
More like only a seven.
We overmapped this a lot.
So the two new positions, so let's understand this now. So because right now, this also includes your two new positions.
Right.
Will those new positions actually be paid at the corporal rate or at the entry rate? Okay,
So,
and that would be added or subtracted, that's in the patrolman line.
That would be added to the patrolman line, correct?
So we're good. So yeah, so there, it was too fat.
Yeah, I
I
apologize.
understand what you're.
I just added people, yeah.
So,
It made sense in my head.
either one of you has this upload live, can you, change that from 568, 288 to 396, 506 and tell us what the increase is overall on that budget?
so that makes the increase in the budget.
What'd you say it was? 396?
396, 506.
Thank
That's
you.
with your 3% raise and with the 117 such.
Okay, so that's still 14, that's 14%.
14%, because it only says they increased by 8 here.
No, that's for the surveyor's pay.
Oh,
That note is for the surveyor's pay.
oh, you're right, it would be, yeah. 115 or more. It seems like it went down a little bit.
Yeah, it will, because you gotta take out. If you take the, let's see, the 1,996, so we'll take those. So what you do is take the pay data collected now. Okay. With all the pay in there. So one.
While you're doing that, I just want to, commissioner's budget, have we increased the commissioner's budget to accommodate 2 extra patrolmen?
Actually,
With-
the officers come from GLC and no, it hasn't been increased.
So that's gonna be, a seat is gonna be impacted by that additional amount, it's about another 100,000, 52 people, 101,000.
The officers come out of what?
The officers helping plan.
Oh, the
$100
officers.
to,
Seated.
see it.
So you are doing 2 days, not one.
Well, I'm just, I'm not,
Okay.
no, I'm just kidding. Sitting here, we're getting in trouble.
Unless you just wanna go with what I gave you and then we'll have like 10.
Right.
I mean,
See, that's still 14%. Honestly, I mean, because I will say I've sat in a couple of things. I mean, the drug task force and things like the sheriff's department's going really well. We've just got other expenses. The health insurance is just what's killing us. I think it's already a stretch, just trying to replace PJ. I really like the idea of adding one this year and then one next year.
If we had one, it probably cut it down though.
It's still gonna be 8 or 9%.
So if we was to get one, that'd cut a lot of overtime down for one, I promise you that. And we got a plan moving forward, that I'm not at liberty discussing here, but it will get a lot better, even with the one.
Well, we can't approve the 85,000 for the overtime or whatever that was.
We cut that in, we gonna cut that in half.
I'll tell you what, though, let's not cut it in half if we're only gonna fund one, let's still add something to it.
Just to make sure.
I don't know, how's the rest of the council feel about starting out with the one and then, you know, like, maybe making the overtime at 45,000 now, make it like 55,000. For a trial, and then we also have a way to look at seeing by adding officers, how much that helps overtime. Because the other thing that we're never gonna be able to control is the attrition law. It doesn't matter what we've tried to add, we've tried to keep the current system for retirement. That doesn't really seem to matter, you know what I mean, like, these other departments are constantly gonna be coaching our people. I don't think we're ever gonna be able to contain that until the economy, everything catches up, they're always gonna go.
But if the department is better staffed,
Oh, we
so
need
people are being run
125,000.
less ragged, wouldn't that help the attrition?
Yeah,
Well, as far as right now, when people call up, you don't really have somebody to,
no,
that's, you're pulling guys off overtime. I mean, or at least they're straight time, so as soon as they do fill in, it's automatically overtime, because they've already worked their.
we've got people
So,
that
nothing
have
else,
to
I
take
think one-
vacations due to the vacation policy.
Yeah,
And then we've got officers that are running, I think I had an officer turn in 115 hours, 2 weeks, you know, a couple of
Yeah.
years ago. I mean,
If two positions are going to help the department that much, but we're worried about costs and you're talking about a trial with just one, how about if we just make the trial shorter than a full year? I mean, instead of waiting till next year to review.
Probably because we have an annual budget.
I understand that, but I
And they're-
still hate to make them wait an entire
Well,
year.
they're down one person right now by not having PJ, like, that should benefit them immediately.
Wayne saying they can get by with one.
Yeah, we
You're
can't,
good with that.
that's your smart.
we really can't get by with the one, like, I have a plan moving forward, and we're gonna be fine.
So, what do you think about instead of leaving you at 45, about making the overtime 55,000 as part of the trial?
I think that would be great.
I agree, yeah, Sheriff.
But you're gonna have to ask for additional money.
Probably, oh, definitely so, yeah.
I'd say just, we're gonna have to give them another spot at least one. Or the way Jack's been
They
doing.
might be able to buy it from commissary. They were saying, or maybe-
We're actually,
Part-time, or yeah.
overall budget wise, we're in much better shape this year. We're over on building maintenance, computer contracts, I think, with your computer contract. In the 911 budget, is it service contracts and overtime, so.
You bought a car from QCAP this year.
I think they got two.
There's
used
two of
ones.
them.
If I
We
remember.
got two
Two used
ones,
cars.
yeah.
But
For the same
it was
month.
basically splitting the one new car into two
Yeah,
used cars.
same money.
Yeah.
So at minimum, if that happened next year, would that give you the extra car you need, or we still need to replace it? You'll be able to do it.
See, this is a lot of like collaboration.
One car or two
You good
used.
with this
ones.
idea too, Don?
What's that?
You good with this idea I just mentioned?
Yeah, but like I say, he might not, he might take the money for one car and get two used like he's been doing.
I like that. That's-
Oh, real good job of building the fleet.
Yeah, but
It's really
it's getting better out there.
Seems like the quality of the used stuff has been better. You know, the auditor's office wants to interject.
I just want to remind the council, when you're going through your budgets today, if you change anything, any amounts in the requested 2025 column, make sure that you reflect in your motion what you're changing, the account description, the amount, and then also the total overall budget at the bottom.
Want me to make the first one just to check the ice?
Yeah.
I'm gonna make the motion for the adjustment in the sheriff's budget, 005. First adjustment. 10601, Coleman. From 568288 to 396506.
Repeat that, Dave.
Yes. 396506.
Yeah, right there. Yep. 396. 506.
And then
That's what it's currently.
under 11400, 80,000 to 55,000. Otherwise, as requested.
So
That's,
just which pay, are we looking at the one where we moved the money, from 0027 or not?
It's the overtime is what it is.
That's where that's where the.
Yeah, this here, they've got.
Oh, I guess.
worried about your totals, we're just changing your totals
Okay.
and what you just told us you needed to do.
Okay.
You've got it there.
Okay.
You adjust it however
Alright.
you want, but basically you're getting an additional
Make it
patrolman,
$55.
$10,000 increase.
Perfect. Thank you.
So, which the auditor's office can help you with that if you.
Oh, I know they will.
About Sarah's mile.
And when you double check the math, we're still having a budget hearing.
Yeah, you're fine.
Even if there's a little bit, we don't expect it,
Yeah.
hopefully you'll come back and say, hey, we can cut it.
Hey, guess what?
I don't anticipate.
Here's the honest truth, with every single piece of paper I gave you, no matter what form, I don't expect that we would have to come back next year and ask for money. That was my goal, was to try to not have to come back next year and say, oh, we need money. So,
I don't know, 100%.
but this year won't be near as bad as last year.
And then is there a second for that motion?
I'll second it.
A second from Kay. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? So we'll move to page 11 of your handout, location, 0027, which is the jail budget. And it looks like the jail budget went up by 22,000. Looks like a big chunk of that is the fire contract.
Yeah, so we need, next year we will need, and I apologize, because I really made a lot of notes for you guys. Next year, we're gonna need, almost complete overhauls for the kitchen and server room, and that's gonna be about $6,000.
So why are we
Estimate.
budgeting for that instead of going for a capital expenditure from? the
I don't know, because I just budgeted for everything that I knew we needed.
I just want to make this clear, this so this is on the record, that nobody else looks for their departments and capital expenditures. Unless you're gonna be doing this every year, like
Okay.
regular
Okay.
capital expenditures need to go to commissioners, because they need to make sure that things that need to be bid for are being bid for, all those kind of.
Then you can
think,
take 6,000 out of that, because that's what the quote we were given.
Last year, we were pretty consistent about requiring all departments when it came to, I think, equipment.
Yeah.
And repairs, I think those, and maybe furniture. So as we go through this today, let's please keep that in mind as for all of the departments. We're not just.
It's really not. It's just business practice, even if we were a private
Yeah.
company, we would take capital out of
Yeah,
capital.
but
account.
You can take 6,000 off of that, because that is the quote we were given. That's why I put all these notes on these worksheets I didn't know you guys didn't get.
Yeah. And it's not due to the amount or anything else, it's just that it's something that's being done to one of our assets, which
Yeah.
commissioners manage the assets.
So then, would a new mower fall into that? Ask them for that? Anybody?
A new mower.
Because I added that under repairs and maintenance, so there's $8,000 on there, even cross off too.
That'd be another cum cap item.
Okay.
A mower definitely would want to.
You're ready, Donnie.
Our commissary,
Or commissary, yeah,
Well, so you can
just
take,
saying,
just saying, I can't do 14,000, so.
no, I
So
think
you can take 6,000 off of the fire contract, and you can take 8,000 off of the repairs and maintenance, because those two were very specific quotes
6,000
for.
off, so bring that to.
Off of
For
the
equipment.
building maintenance, right?
Off of 30605 for building maintenance, it's repairs and maintenance listed on ours, and
Oh, there,
that's where I
okay.
put the.
We're taking money,
8,000.
taking money out of the building. and maintenance.
Out of the fire contract, subtract 6,000, so we'd only need 2,000, okay? And then under 30605. You can take out 8,000.
we know there's maintenance issues, so I'm not gonna argue that other.
Okay, so that's a difference of, what's out there, 14,000, right?
Yeah.
Education and seminars, that's.
Yeah, we are doing a lot of training and education. We've been paying for everything out of commissary, which is good. Except that we can't pay for everything out of commissary. We're just not there, so
So
I just moved money. And
that doesn't include the academy though, right? Like if people.
No.
go to the academy and they
Yeah.
leave, we
No.
charge them for that, right? Somebody was asking that the other day. I couldn't remember if we started instituting
I
that.
don't think we could have legally, we tried that.
We've tried, or they tried.
The only other thing that Todd pointed out is that,
It's three.
okay. So,
So that takes the budget down to $99,835.
So it's about
Because we took out $14,000 out.
All right, you wanna make a
What
motion?
was it?
99,835. I will make a motion on the jail budget with the above reflections. The 31050, the fire contract is going from 8,000 to 2,000. And 30605 maintenance is going from 20,000 to 12,000, which reflects the change, and that can be, so the budget should be $99,835.
I'll second that motion.
Did we have a motion? Was that Kathy?
Yes.
Is there any,
The last one.
Whatever.
The last one, the last change.
Oh, the last change was under building maintenance. From 20,000 to 12,000, $8,000 change, which I did say in my original motion.
is there any discussion? Thanks, Kathy. All those in favor, aye? Is there any opposed?
All right,
Oh, you got a lot more to approve for them, so if you wanna go to 1101, that should be right behind the county general, so. Right as you get through 1,000, top left, you're gonna see the. Funds. We're gonna go
Okay.
1101.
Yeah, what page?
when it's.
There's not really a page number.
It's after the,
It's after county general, so the last page of. It's 1,001.
Is it 1101? That makes sense?
Yep, 1101.
right here.
Yep, you'll, we're gonna go through that in order.
That's starting their other one.
Yeah.
It's after page 15, everybody.
Yes.
So if you go to 15, look at your stack over, you're starting on those.
You can put your stack over, and we're gonna go through each and every one, we've got about 10 or 11.
Oh, it's right at the top. Oh, they're good. Oh, good. It's actually written. It's not, yeah.
Page one again. That's one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But this is a complete new amount. It's fun, right?
Now, most of these funds, other than 1114, when we get to 1114, it's a little different. All these other small funds they generate revenue themselves.
That's why it's miscellaneous, it's no
Yes,
appropriation.
so, they cannot use this appropriation that you're gonna approve unless they have revenue and cash in that fund to use it. But most of these are not taxpayer money, these are all just revenue that generates themselves through fines, fees, forfeitures. I'm saying that just to go fast.
Pull out 111.
1111, 1101,
101, 1114.
Pull those out.
Well-
But anyway, start with 1101. And but is there any way you can do some of those miscellaneous together?
You can do a lot of them together, so we tell you which one.
Yeah. So she's gonna tell us which ones to pull out that are miscellaneous.
1127.
Okay, so you can do 1101, or somebody writing them down. 1101,
1127.
1156,
How about 27?
We're doing the jail ones.
not jail.
Oh, that's in-
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Which one is the one?
1175. You're writing this down. Dave.
Yes.
Okay, 1175. 4006. 4103. 4110. 4111. 4909.
Don't worry, everybody, I'm gonna read this back off to you.
4934.
All the ones basically appropriation.
Yeah, these are all home rule funds. 9129. 9112.
9112.
9112.
Those are all your miscellaneous home rule funded that you can look through.
You should have 1101, 1156, 1175, 4006, 4103, 4110, 4111, 4909, 4934, 9129, 9112.
I drove Rachel pretty crazy trying to get through that these, so.
That's in the budget item.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally mixed up now.
Yeah.
Like somebody put it in a bush basket and took a stick.
Big here, trying to make it organized for you, there's no.
I'm just looking, I'm just. putting mine.
That's directly, that was directly.
I like it more.
I didn't really like that a lot. I'm not just.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it.
It really is.
Here we go.
Don't picture stuff like that.
Just keep your stuff on your side of the table.
Sure, this is gonna be your motion.
How can I look at it?
You can write it down.
Fine, baby.
I'm letting you pull on the green, tell me what they are now. I have to pull mine right now.
So,
Here's what happens, this is what happens. They get all screwed up and then you can't do it. Exactly. Yes, I did have my shirt on inside out today, so that's. the way the day is going.
pointed it out.
Hey, pointed it out. I said, it's not your shirt's on there. Really? All right.
My husband wore his backwards like this week,
I've
went
done
to
that.
church and everything else, your shirt's on it.
But it had a button on it, so.
Yeah, I'm not. No, that's 1105. Where is that? And this is my nice stuff now.
Next year.
Not 410.
I overreacted.
It's fine.
4103.
Okay, I got it.
So, and just so I could read the list off for those of you that can't see what I've written here, 1101, 1156, 1175, 4006, 4103, 4110, 4111, 4909, 4934, 9112, 9129.
So 9112 and 9129. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all the ones that say, if they're all the ones that say miscellaneous is district no appropriation. Right?
And to understand this right, if there's no money in those accounts,
Can't spend it.
there's no money to spend.
Yeah.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Over.
can only spend what we have in there.
All right, let's roll. That takes half of our staff out, Sarah. What do you think?
You want me to make the motion? To set this straight?
Make me feel better.
I can just read off these fund numbers, right? I'll make them draw some, I don't go through the months that are done that, right? Okay,
No, no.
all right.
And let's say as presented.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the following funds as, I'm gonna give it to you as presented. Fund 1101, Fund 1156, Fund 1175, Fund 006, Fund 4103, Fund 4110, Fund 4111, Fund 4909, Fund 4934, Fund 9129, and Fund 9112. I can read them again. What we do.
Sorry.
They're all right. They're all. Not appropriated funds, which means, like Tony said, if they don't have the money, they can't spend it. So there's my motion.
A motion from Todd, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Tony, is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Is there anybody that has their paperwork all messed up?
I don't even know where to
You
start.
guys go to 111.
Here, I have an extra copy.
Top
before anyways.
left-hand
You
corner.
do?
1114, top left-hand corner.
Fund number 1114.
Like the Sandra.
It's right after when you have fund 1101 in your stat.
Yeah, but these aren't, the funds aren't multi.
The other top right, top left-hand corner.
Okay, so which one?
So
It'll
look
say
at
page
page number,
one.
look at,
Yeah.
Look for what?
There's no
the
page
top
number.
left-hand corner. It'll say the
It's
fund
Andrew
number.
Satan.
One is on the board.
Well, that's another one that's. Right?
114, that's just.
Yeah. Jail seated
Yes,
is,
jail
is one that we, it's sort of fixed, but like, you know, like there's some raises like 3% that are built in there.
And what I'm gonna say about this is, you are almost at your max revenue that comes into this fund every year.
But how did we underfund the jail nurse?
The jail nurses. You wanna talk about this?
Yeah, so we have a contract for 30 hours of regular nursing plus 10 hours of, there's an acronym that they refer to that. It is a lesser version of a nurse that can do a med test during the evenings. They are unable to fill that 2 hours per night due to their staffing issue. So now they have, our nurses left and they can't get anyone to cover a 6-hour shift inside of the jail. So they had to increase that, which I think they eaten a portion of that. And they've also submitted the increase for next year. So. Well, I don't know the number they're looking at. Are they looking at?
Going from 160 to 209.
209 is what we saw.
So. What they're stating and what we're actually requesting is that get rid of that MTP 2-hour things that I don't believe they're gonna be able to fill that. I don't see someone coming in for 2 hours.
We can't look to another company to bid for that.
We can completely bid differently. To be honest with you, I think they're gonna be significantly higher than that, but we absolutely could call other companies.
The problem is the government, we can't just take that chance, you know what I mean?
No, that's fine, that's fine. We can bid it out and see different things.
Yeah.
But this increase would actually go from a 30 to where we would actually have 60 hours of nursing. So we're jumping from the, whatever the rate is now, to actually 30 increased hours to where they're actually being a nurse at nighttime, which is when we see a majority of our hospital visits. When there's not medical staff there to evaluate, our officers have to send them out because the jail officer should make the determination of what their status is. If I explain that correctly.
We already heard that you're shorter on garage and motor. Gas oil on loop is going up double.
So we actually are at, we had $55,000 and we're actually there already, so. For the year.
Almost never, overall budget, but take me down on that. Sheriff increases, honestly, we're gonna start looking at this.
The service contract was a significant jump because of that $35,000 that hadn't been budgeted in the past.
Can I ask a question about the nursing issue we were just talking about? And this might have been tried, I have no idea, but I used to work in healthcare and of course it was a while back, but on the midnight shift anyway, we would have a laboratory technician on call. So would that work at all, or is it permissible to, instead of have someone there 2 to 6 hours, to do sort of an on-call?
So currently, anytime there's not medical staff in the building, the doctor is on call. So it kind of raises some of these issues. And not that I agree with it, but I at least understand it. The jail officers relaying, there's a medical distress emergency, whatever the situation is. They're relaying this over the phone. And a doctor's trying to assess this situation. And what we're seeing is they're not there to assess it, so they're sending these individuals out.
Because the way that it worked in the facility I worked at was that, you know, if something came up, the person that was on call would actually come in to the facility in my experience, it was in a laboratory. So they'd come in to get the specimens, run the test.
Yeah.
So, and they had to live within the county too. So there was that geographical aspect to it too, that
Yeah.
they had to be kind of nearby so they could get there quickly. Then if they came in, even if they only stayed 15 minutes, they were paid for a full hour worth of time. So just because I'm ignorant about it, I'm
No,
just
that's okay.
asking.
So typically what happens with correctional environments is you have a company, whether that's ACH, QCC, whatever their acronym is or their company name is. And it's basically run by a majority of nurses. Then you have a regional nurse and a regional doctor.
Mhm.
So that doctor is overseeing multiple jails. So they'll usually have one during the daytime, it's Dr. Shevchuk for us, and then it kind of alternates at nighttime. So that doctor is actually receiving phone calls from multiple jails. So I don't believe him coming in would be a viable source for us.
Oh, I guess I was talking about the nurse working under him, whether they would be able to do like an on-call arrangement that way instead of spending the time at the jail.
I think they could probably negotiate in the contract, but it would look very different than that.
Yeah.
Because they would plan for those calls and the wages would increase.
So logistically, though, other than contract negotiations, would it be something that would even remotely have a chance of working out if it were to save us some money to do an on-call kind of thing?
Explain it the way your vision is.
Okay, well, again, just going by my own experience in the lab, we didn't have a midnight tech because the hospital didn't feel there was a need. I'm not saying you don't have
No,
it. At that time, that hospital didn't have the demographics to have someone there and pay them the whole time. So someone would be scheduled for a call shift on the midnight shift. And then say if ER had a patient that needed labs, the call tech would come in, draw labs, process them. It took them half an hour. They were still paid for a full hour's worth of time. And then they would depart, go back home. If they were called in again, they'd come back in. So, there were pros and cons to it. And I just don't know if one of my biggest questions, because again, I'm not familiar with everything you guys are doing, is just if it did prove to save some money, is it something that would logistically be workable? Yeah, obviously not with the regional doctor, but if you guys have a nurse there who's talking with the doctor and assessing things, would it be possible to put a nurse type of person in that on-call position? And I guess you're saying it would need to be looked at through the contract. But my question is like, would it work within the context of our jail?
I really, that's more of a QCC question other than a jail, and I can bring that up. I don't think it really changes a lot for us because essentially we're taking whatever the direction is of whether that's a nurse or a doctor to avoid the liabilities of the county. So if this individual is making a recommendation, we're gonna follow that recommendation just like it would be the doctor. I don't know that it would change a whole lot corrections wise for us. For the logistics of not having an individual there on site versus sending them out type situation.
Is there any restriction against doing something like this through like telemedicine too? I mean, because half the time when I call my provider, they're like, would you like a Zoom appointment or do you want in person?
So when we have a contract with whoever the provider is, that's all built into that contract, all that stuff would.
They already use telemedicine for some of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
A lot of mental health is done.
okay.
Actually, I have to credit other minds for this too, but my other question would be is why can't we use our paramedics for that fill-in time? Other counties do that. They fill in at the hospitals. So,
I think, yeah, if Jim can make that work.
I mean, at least then they're paying one of our departments instead of paying these other folks.
I've got something I'm working on now, integrated with the mobile integrated health program, which is the community medicine. I'm trying to find something to do with it for the other portion of time. So it's something I'm working on, but we can get it funded from a couple different places.
The only thing, if you only have one, Jim, if he calls, you're gonna have to get somebody on. You know what I mean?
They would go over there and stay. Only if something was happening. As you're sitting here talking about, I'm like, well, that's not Stacy. And they could actually determine whether they need to go to the hospital too. At that point, because they're the same ones that are going to come to the beginning.
So the idea that I would have is, since we're not in budget hearings, reduce that by 49,000 for right now, and let you two folks talk this over and possibly fund that way instead of this way.
Absolutely.
So my other question is the security. What is that? I don't remember. Security officers.
It's all our court security guys.
That's what I thought. So why are we increasing that by 20 some?
18,000.
When I was doing these numbers and I was talking to Rachel for help, we were adding 3% on stuff and throwing numbers and stuff. So that's where like projected numbers now with what we had and so.
So it was actually just like a transcription here, because it should have been 3%, not 30% increase.
Right, 3%. What do we have for this year?
You got 63 this year, so.
Okay, and I have five.
5,000.
22,000.
So that should just be a 3% increase.
Yes, 3% for 5 guys for the year.
So
Yes.
what's 63,101 times 1.035?
I don't know how I got to 85. How's that?
I figured that.
63 what?
I'm about numbered out.
63, one.
There's a lot of them.
Times 1.03.
That's 64,994, 3 cents.
So 64, 9.
Oh, so I probably put 65 in them.
Let's just call it 60, let's call it 64,995. Okay. So, and then the only other question I think that might come to people's mind is the CAD system. I don't remember what that was such a big deal.
So the CAD system was, there was a $40,000 bill for Caliber that has not been budgeted in for the last 2 years. So
But
I
this isn't
have,
gonna happen in 26, right?
this is happening next year, 2025.
It's not gonna happen again in 26. It's a one-time thing, right?
This is new to me. So Caliber, is that something that's been every year? Guys, anybody who's done it longer than Caliber?
Caliber's the system that he wrote on.
So I
So,
understand.
yeah,
But all of a sudden, why is there an extra 30,000? That's not gonna happen.
because it's never been budgeted
It
properly.
went 300%.
It's the Caliber, $40,000 Caliber bill that has never been budgeted properly, like as many budgets as I can go back and look at. That line item was short by that $40,000 every year.
Even the 4 years
So-
we're looking at, it's never been that much like that, like, why did it jump up 30,000 like?
That's what the bill says.
That's what I'm asking,
Yeah.
though. Is it a one-time bill that was just neglected, like, you don't add it to your budget, if
This
it's
is
gonna
a-
happen every year.
It's a every year annual,
45,000 every year.
this is what let's see if I
That
have
seems
it
like
with me.
too much.
Hold on, let me see if I have it with me.
You're saying we've been billed for that much every year that you could see
No,
however.
no, we've been
Because they
budgeting
not.
15,000.
Well, we've been budgeting it,
And
but
we've
what
been
she's saying
budgeting
is that.
Yeah,
the-
we're running over that line item every
So
year.
did you come back for additional for that extra money?
Yes.
Every year?
I mean, when we're short in one year, you move it from one part of your budget.
Here you go.
Or they had to come back and ask.
You, by the end of the year.
So the November 28th, 2023 bill was $37,925.42.
Okay.
So when I talked to them, they said it would go up a little bit for 2025.
So. probably
So I
like
said
45.
40,000.
That's 45,000.
So they were only budgeted 15,000, so.
Yeah, so what we need,
It wasn't
as a side thing, we
but-
need to look at the history of this, though. I mean, for them to, like, there's a life cycle of something like that to increase it by, you know, how many percent?
300.
300%.
Well, I mean, I can pull, I don't have the
budget
obvious with me.
15,000 4 years ago for
Yeah.
a reason. Like, there's no reason, there's no way we've
It was
budgeted
actually,
for 4
it
years.
was
in a
actually
row.
14,100
yeah.
in 21.
I can go back. This is where we got extra money for, one of the things we got extra money for last year. Before me, I don't know, but looking back at the budgets that the paperwork I was able to find, this was not budgeted in properly for the last few years. So I tried to budget it in properly. If you don't want to put it in there, that's fine, but ultimately,
It doesn't matter, we got to pay.
we're gonna have this bill.
It would make more sense to have it on budget, not coming back.
That's what I tried to do. I mean, that's why.
And when they say a little bit above 37, so obviously something happened where it was under budgeted.
Correct.
So it's 8,000 though, from 30,
I said
from 1 year
40.
to the next.
I put
You put
45.
45.
Well, because that's just one bill. So, yeah, we have other bills that we pay out of that.
I was getting ready to cut. it.
You have the, I mean, if you can pull up,
Overall
our budget,
amount.
you can see what we pull out of that line item, but the biggest number one thing was this $40,000 bill, so that's what my note is here. I mean. In addition, we have like, that was the 37 and the other.
Who's in charge of the sheriff's department now?
Mark,
Can we ask Mark to review that? Like, if we do just leave that for right now, can we just, and we can fix that by budget hearing time.
Sarah, are you able to, are you
I
able to
mean,
pull that up?
Communications wise, communications is something, we need. So I like, if it has to be that. I'm just saying, I don't wanna over budget if it doesn't need to
Yeah,
be.
we gotta pay it.
Because this budget's going up a huge amount.
and what you were talking about there, communication,
No, I know, from 15 to 45
on what,
I can,
on the CAD system.
Yeah.
But
okay,
if we could have Mark just get with you to double check that since he's in charge of it, but what I'm saying is let's leave it.
I'm fairly certain it was 2 caliber bills that came out of
We
there.
obviously under budgeted a couple of years ago. I just want to, I want to make sure that we're not over budgeting now, that's all, so.
Just mark it on,
If we leave
they
that.
pick it up when you want to.
Okay, yep, you guys are welcome anytime, I can track everything easy even, I'll send you my spreadsheet if you want that.
About 3 years ago. And then,
Then we get reimbursed.
and then it went up, and then it was supposed, the sheriff's department was supposed to start budgeting that increase in the budget, but it never has been.
So just just in review for the council, unless you're seeing something different, it looks like we've gone through a justification. The two things that we're looking at is the jail nurse, reducing it back to 160 with your discussion between now and budget hearing about the possibility of changing to a paramedic. And then security officers, we already agreed that we could reduce, because that was just a transcription error, 64,995 instead of 85,000.
Me, am I repeating that thing, I'm that it was going up to 170 next year to the other one?
Is it 170, not 60, so 170?
Hold on 1 second, he's looking at the email, I'm trying to remember. 173, 941, is that the worst?
That's if you.
With
would
the
have-
additional, okay, so 160 should be okay then.
And the
Same as last year.
You'll check by budget hearing.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
just have a note that we'll revisit that, but
So we only have to do changes.
no food change.
We'll just. Yeah, gas and oil was way up. I don't know where.
They're under water on those.
Yeah, I understand that.
Service.
Part time didn't go up that much.
Service contracts are,
Yeah, what?
so here's what I have on service contracts, $35,000 for utility associates, which is the body camera. One that Stacy mentioned, 6,400 for Mitsubishi, which is generator stuff. 7,000 on jail tracker, 11,000 for mechanical concepts, 2,000 for Kemps, which is all the printers, fingerprint printer and everything else.
So
We had a lot of
you're there.
stuff that.
So you're
Yeah.
there. So you're there.
You can have these notes if you want.
So we're
not gonna dig down.
So we're gonna make those two changes? All right, we need a motion. Yeah, I think I can do this. All right, I'm gonna make a motion. This is regarding Fund 1114 jail seated. That we accept it as written with the addition, with the exception of 11500. Going from 209,606 to 160,000, no cents. And the other one would be the security officers 10450 64145.
64995.
Oh, I can't read this right. 64955.
995.
995, just like. Kinds of plastic, okay? So those are my two changes after. Yeah, those 64, 99, all right.
We have a second.
4995.
I'll second it.
We have a second from Kay. Is there any further discussion?
I know I'm confused.
Don, you did? You did?
Yeah.
All those in favor, aye?
All right,
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
somebody else can make the
All
motion.
right, so you have 2 more left for the jail, that's gonna be 4919 therapeutic communities and 122 dispatch. 4919 1222.
Hey, here's 4,900. What's the other one, 112? There we go. 4,900.
I don't have our 90. Oh, wait, I got it. What was the other one?
112.
1222.
Oh.
1222.
Both of them, like it.
Among other things.
Oh.
It's all right, I feel your pain.
I don't, you're always looking at that question.
Either of those.
I don't remember that.
I didn't have.
Okay.
all at once that go that.
I got them right here.
Wait, what's that?
I know, I didn't put yours on.
Yeah. 4919 1222.
Okay. Oh.
Almost. 1, 2, 3, 2, we go. 1, 2, 3, 2.
I don't have that one.
I don't have one.
I don't either.
And I don't have either of them.
Back in
Yeah, and I didn't have
turn.
some of those that pulled out.
That's time to share.
Hold on,
Here.
here, I got so, everything here. I didn't need yours.
The only change we get before it was.
Cassie needs to let, so.
I need a copy of both of them.
roof and building repair.
Here's 4919.
Okay.
And the other one is,
I have that one.
well, you got the other one, you got the 1200.
4919 and 1222.
I have 4919, but I don't have the other one. What was it,
1222, it's the name.
Here. Oh, I got.
24919 first.
All right.
Oh, here, I got it. 4919 supports itself with its own revenue.
As long as the therapeutic community is one.
Yes.
So really, the only major change was.
But
The
that's
data,
getting
but we
two
added-
trailers.
we added
So like, like, tell us about that, it's real quickly.
So we're in a very similar position with the road officers. We are now in charge of the sex offender registry, which is about 30 to 35 hours of dedicated time that an officer has to be out there. It's actually Sergeant Jones who is in charge of that.
Because they're separated or something?
They're not separated, which is, it's something to do with, it's the sex offender with the public community. To the individuals that come in for the required, registration. So these individuals, I think their caseload's about 68-ish, is that correct? So these 68 individuals have requirements that we're obligated as a sheriff's department that we have to submit. Whether that's address verifications that go for road officers, all of that stuff. So that 30 hours comes out of her normal work week. That took kind of her off the floor, with her bouncing, trying to help here and there. The second thing that is a big change for us is we, in order to sustain and get our numbers up in the TC community, we are now doing armed transports for the Department of Corrections to get those individuals into our facility. So
They're
when
not
they
paying us for that?
Yeah.
what was that?
They're not paying us for that?
What do you mean?
They don't, I'm gonna say this is.
They're paying us for the offender. So when we go down and grab them, the problem we're having is they'll sit somewhere because the Department of Corrections wants there to be 6, 8 guys. So they'll sit for 3 to 5 months where our numbers are dwindling down. So if they're at Westville, we'll run up and went to Westville and grab those, or if they're at
Basically, they're
Plainview.
screwing.
And then we'll get paid for them once they're at our facilities, correct?
But it's the
So
trans.
it's getting them there.
That's the biggest thing is we gotta get them in the door to be able to.
Yeah.
But all that takes 2 full jailers?
Yeah, that's their policy.
So where do the jailer benefits come from?
Jail benefits come from the health insurance comes from CLC and then all the other benefits like her, been like, social security.
So yeah, so that's a big hit, but is the jail seated increased to accommodate the benefits from these both
Yeah.
students?
Jail seated, I put up just with everything else, and that's when Rachel and I talked about,
His job.
we put up health insurance is hard because we don't know it until after we all had this conversation, but.
The health insurance that's funding right now.
Makes sense.
To sustain those increases, but you can always up it.
That doesn't surprise me at all. Right.
And the only other thing I see that really went up, and it's not substantial. And is repair and maintenance went up
$6,000.
almost over double.
We're getting killed on
I know.
building maintenance, to be honest, we're just,
That's all I,
Yeah,
that's all I
yeah.
need to say.
yeah.
And the meals,
Well, food pricing.
Good prices are crazy. She is, Deb, our cook, our head cook, she just went down.
Like you did for the road.
That's
Uh,
what I'm thinking.
She
Start off
just
with
went
one,
down,
see how it works.
got is working with a new vendor now that.
Are you willing to negotiate?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like if the sheriff's willing to negotiate that, that's another one we look at, adding one. See if that, how positively that impacts, and then see, then we can read, at this time next year. Take another look.
On which one?
Yeah.
For the extra, 2 extra jailers, instead of doing 2, do 1.
Oh.
Remember, we have to get insurance and benefits for those people too.
On that. They act like Ronnie Lawson. If he's gone, so does that cover his area? I mean, is money are there, what I'm asking?
No, I mean, no, these are new positions,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I, yeah.
So 1.
We took her from they took her basically some off the floor to cover like the sex offender, everything, so.
I just have a question to it, might be budget related, but for the sex offenders, are they required to come to the jail to make, like, to report like any changes? Cause I'm only asking because I have had at least one client from Pulaski.
I have 2 very
verification cycles that I have to do, depending on the classification, they get confused. It's either an annual or a 90-day. I want to say probably about 18 to 20 of my vendors have to report to the sheriff's department every 90 days. The rest of them only have to report in. So yes, they do have to show.
Okay, because I had seen a few instances from my work in Pulaski County where the officers might be out, like, I don't know, verifying addresses, and then someone reported a new license plate or new vehicle. And there were some issues in it actually getting reported, and then they were dinged with violations. So I'm like, just sound everything.
So how many jailers are there now?
Currently, we have 12, including the 2 admins.
So that means someone has to be coming out of somewhere else.
Seated.
So, okay,
Jail seated.
so
How many are coming out of this?
Currently 5.
Oh, five.
so that's.
I put the two requested
That's
on this.
basically 46,976. So what it comes out,
What are we looking at if we take, you want to go talk about it?
so we take 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 5,
33233.
2, take off like 49, I think it was, like,
47476.
sorry.
47476. And that's what we have on. Yeah.
47. They did not work. I calculated what we totally did. 4746.
47476.
It's the same thing. It does not want to do that with my math.
That means we need the extra, just so you know. I don't have my calculator.
Okay. Well, that's-
47476.
Yeah, just got real busy today.
Or how about this one? Try this, 47476 times 6.
47476
Times 6.
Okay. That comes out to be 284. 284,856. I got it.
284,856.
This is a lot, so that's not a lot. Trying to get this. I'm trying to be clear.
Somebody want to make a motion or further discussion? We're talking about reducing that by one of those jailers and trying it with an additional one next year and then seeing where we're at. It's still workshop time.
Reducing it from 33,233 to what?
284,856. What we need to do is look at the whole budget increase after today. And then we'll have to decide. No, but I'm just saying overall, this one's different from TC. But overall, once we do all of our adjustments, we'll look and see how much percent we're going up with the whole budget. And then decide if we can still do it. That's what. That's good. Yeah, or let it fly, but as a backup. Somebody feel comfortable for making a motion? 14%.
The good thing about 4919 is, you know, it's.
4919 is not gonna impact our total budget.
All right, I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve Fund 4919 as approved with the exception of 10502. That will go down to $289,850.
284,856.
Yeah, 284,856, what I have.
So you wanna amend that? That's what you told us.
I did. I got something different.
284,856.
All right. Amend that to 284,856. I'm having a rough time.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second him.
Somebody else second, not, that's not two, by the way, got a second from Kathy, all those in favor? Someone else,
Don't even rich.
good kind of break on the next one.
Alright, you're gonna go 1, 2, 2, 2, dispatch,
And then you're done with this.
your revenue and dispatch is $385,000. You do not have monies to sustain dispatch, just like you have not, and that's how I have told you for the past 2 years. So you've been paying a few dispatchers out of 114. You've also been paying some out of ARPA. And when you go through your ARPA budget later, I have, again, budgeted things in ARPA for the 10% increase that you guys did. So,
And the reductions in the.
so what I did with that,
Right.
instead of having everybody's payroll, 10% of everybody's payroll come out of ARPA, I just did a total amount and I threw a few things in ARPA that equaled the $700,000, which was the 10% increase.
Yes. The 911 service contract is the only one that kind of like,
And that was under budgeted. That's been under budgeted.
water.
But you are going to have to watch 1222 this year and next year, because it is running negative, because the revenue that we get from the state does not support our increases in 1222, which, you know, 911 funding is ridiculous, like state legislature.
It hasn't changed in probably 20 years.
Tax Crystal or somebody. Yeah, I really do.
So how do we make up the shortfall on here?
ARPA
Which that's gonna
ARPA and see that, that's how you've been
be,
making
that's not
that.
gonna last any more than this.
Oh, I thought we.
It's come up before that like the municipalities within the county could be contributing to that. But,
Not required to.
right, and we can't make them.
And the mayor reached out to Jim Russell and they said, no, we can't.
You can't make them for dispatch or EMS.
There are other things we can make.
Yeah.
There you go, that's the thing, they can have their own piece out,
Yeah.
so it's something maybe we should sit down and negotiate this year. And just let them know, cause like that's the thing that goes, legally you can't make it do it, well, legally you don't have to do their piece of it, so.
So we should do that like sooner than later though, instead of saying it's something we should do. I think we should make it, I mean, really, all of us in this room should make a point, we should do that.
So.
For the record,
Even
I
if
would
we,
be abstaining
even if,
from that because I am the Hamilton County attorney, so I wouldn't be participating.
if
So I just
they
knew
found it in their
that.
budget to contribute to us for the 911 system, I would assume it's going to be considerably cheaper than them dispatching themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Justin okayed it right away when we mentioned it before, Dave, I think they were the only.
right,
Well, when we first talked about it, we just wanted money just for the salary of one.
One
dispatcher,
dispatcher
right?
split.
So Plymouth PD pays Marshall County dispatch $125,000
Yeah.
a year. Just to- There's.
And we've checked many other counties do the same. Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we accept fund 1222 as presented.
I'll second it.
Have a second from Howard. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Yeah.
Thank you guys very much. Sorry for the confusion.
The only confusion was me.
Yeah. It's trying to get out on the road, so you can bring me all day, I'm leaving. So-
I'm gonna call you out here.
Thank you guys. What's number?
Yeah, just.
So what we got for the
I
next?
think we're always overly ambitious and how we do it.
What's that?
It's ours.
Huh?
Get that back, it's ours. But I mean, really.
We are gonna look at 1135, 1169. 1176. And 1112.
1112, we already looked at.
Okay, 1114 with that one. Not looking at 1112. And you're only looking at one specific section. You don't need to.
1129, 1176.
1135. Got it. All right, I'm gonna start my little spiel. Well, I got you still looking for stuff, or maybe I should.
Okay, I got 1176, 135.
$1,132. That's interest still free.
1135, 1169, 1176, 1112.
Yeah, we had 112 out already.
It's
I don't even have 1135. Hey.
Let me just take care of you, Todd, and give you my copy. Here, I'll
I got it, I got it.
got it.
Yeah.
Mr. Burley, or you need some coffee or anything, you don't have. All right. So let's do 1135 first. Cumulative bridge. Cumulative bridge has had an average balance of an average budget of $257,000. The bridge construction inspector with a pay of $53,602 has been removed, as well as the benefits for that position, which is an additional savings of $19,000. I have restricted the budget to put more money toward the materials, tools, and construction costs of bridges, as I am a bridge construction inspector. So if we do need this certification for future projects, which is about $127,000, $120,000 per bridge, I will be able to do this for the county.
I thought we talked about reducing Cume Bridge and increasing Cume Cap.
Right, Cume Bridge was decreased 3 years ago.
No, we increased it.
Okay, so you decreased it 3 years ago, took it away for 2 years, and then we put it back to what it was, to the decreased amount 3 years ago.
It was longer than 3 years ago, because I never voted to decrease it. I voted.
Okay, it might have been 4 or
I
5
voted
years
to
ago.
increase it,
Yeah, it might have been a little bit.
but.
But the rate that we're at in Cambridge right now is the lowest rate it has been in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I'm not about raising taxes on anybody for anything. But it's double. Or what it is.
But balancing it over to Cume Cap isn't raising taxes, it's just moving.
No, and I think, well, I think we have like maybe some other stuff too. You can get, beat it. Not cutting the contract, just thinking.
It's the first.
Do you wanna talk about 1135 before, I mean, do you want
Yeah.
to make a motion on 1135 or talk about it, or before I move on to 1169?
Well, let's see if somebody wants to make a motion or further discussion on 1135. Let's not leave it. Let's move through this.
I'll make a motion.
Figure out the health insurance, obviously, and then.
So I basically just took that money and put it more money into the tools.
Actually, we voted to 3.5.
Yeah, if anybody will get what it says when your former auditor becomes the highway superintendent. 2 words, it says be careful.
I think instead of flipping back to.
That's just trying to make a motion.
I would make a motion to accept Fund 1135 as presented.
And I will second.
The motion and second, is there further discussion?
Uh,
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
That's all right.
All right,
Oh, she
now
was-
1169. LRS,
We're back to page number, yeah.
no, not yet.
No,
You're gonna look at the top left-hand corner, 1169.
so there's, yeah, so there's 1135. Well, actually, I listed that. Which one did you go to next, Rachel? I'm sorry.
1169.
Yeah. Okay, so 169, 1169.
Let me get it. You're adding a 10.
1169, local road and street, LRS has historically held an average budget of around $405,000. I've increased this for 2025 as the portion of the $705,000 being requested is the approved additional appropriation you have already approved for the single axle truck in the amount of $206,000. The single axle truck will not be received and paid out until spring of 2025. So that is all I'm doing, is I'm moving that additional appropriation that you have already approved over to 2025, so I can spend it when we do get the. That makes sense.
I have one question for you.
Sure.
As a quick copy. So I wanted to make sure I asked you. My example, like the question from the person that took out was why everybody's taking the truck. Well, if there's an emergency, then they're able to deploy it on the house instead of that. It's a lot of extra fuel costs to the county, because they'll take theirs home. And I said, yeah, when I said that, they said, well, but most of them don't want to go out of their emergency. So how true is that?
That is very true. Actually, for the past 3 months, I have 2 drivers that will go out, 2 drivers that will go out. Rock and I do most of the work with those 2 drivers. And that is gonna be taken care of pretty soon,
So either you'll stop letting them have. to take home,
Absolutely.
Or they'll be.
with the permission of Commissioner Bigler.
He's already talked about it.
Okay, I just promised I would ask, I didn't wanna throw you under the bus, I thought, he's here, I'll ask her about it.
There's,
Good.
um,
Okay, that's
that-
I'm not-
That's,
one.
that's been a problem for a while, Dave. I just haven't had a chance to address it yet. Okay, so any questions on 1169?
Motion, we accept 1169 as presented.
I'll second it.
Second from Kate, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed?
1176. You already know all this stuff. 1173 is 1173 and 1176 is motor vehicle. 1173 is the MVH restricted budget and can only be spent on construction, reconstruction, and preservation of roadways. This has a balance of about 2.
Hold on, you didn't say 1173.
No, you're only looking at 1176.
Just explain it to you.
It's 1176.
I've got 1176.
Yes.
I went with the-
So basically 50% of 1176 has to be put into 1173, but you budget overall in 1176. So 1173, this has a balance of $2.1 million, and I believe this just has not been properly spent over the last few years, which is no one's fault because 1173 and 1176 restrictions are an absolute nightmare, even to auditors to maneuver through. With this money that has built up over the years, I would be able to put it towards CCMG projects or pave additional roadways in Starke County than what we are usually restricted to, which is about 15 miles per year. I had also thought about using some of this more money toward new or used pug mill and paver because you can buy pug mill and pavers out of 1173. 1176 runs negative every month and will continue to run negative until we revamp how 1173 is used, which is a process in itself. It is, my process has already begun 6 months ago, but it's gonna take time to build 1176 back up.
How do you explain a $200,000 increase in fuel?
Where?
Your fuel went from 300 to 500, I believe, is what I saw.
Is that on the last thing? I'm gonna be,
And that's a big jump. And considering we've been pretty generous with the fuel.
even know if I really put that in there. I don't know, I might have mistyped that. I mean, I did.
Sorry, I'm good for catching it, I think so.
It was 150,000.
No, it's 300,000. I mean, I'm still gonna run a little short there, but I'm gonna try to transfer money this year. So, I mean, I don't know why I put 500,000.
It'll be 330.
Yes, yes. That would be great. Would be grateful for that. I'm pretty sure that one's a mistype or I did something wrong on that. I wouldn't ask for 2.
Maybe the 5 came into 3, you were gonna put 350.
I don't know.
5, or maybe
Yeah.
you were just sneaking something.
That is,
But I think it was.
jeez.
Google what I just said to Google. over
You
there.
are gonna see an increase in bituminous and stone, but that is for the 1173 budget, because the 1173 with that additional money, it can sustain.
Are you at least sending tandems to pick up stone instead of singles?
I am actually having stone
Whatever,
delivered
whatever, better, it's okay, good.
because I sat down, okay. Last week I decided to have stone delivered and here's why. We ran our trucks for several days and our trucks cannot withstand running to Francisville and back because of their condition that they're in. So I sat down and I figured it out with fuel and then what we pay per tonnage. It was $32 per ton to pick up 11s ourselves. I got an estimate and we were paying $29 a ton to have it delivered.
That's where a lot of the wear and tears come on those trucks. That child.
Who's doing the deliveries?
So what happens is we tell US Aggregates that we want it delivered and then they get their own trucking companies to come in and do it. So we're only getting billed from US Aggregates. They're subcontracting to the truckers.
That's not something that needs to be subject to a bidding process.
Because it is not our, we're going through US Aggregates. We're not picking the truckers or anything.
That makes a big change to 1176. I'll make a motion that we accept 1176 with the change to 21100 from 500,000 to 350,000. Everything else as.
Well, I did have one more question too, on the,
Wait a minute, I have a motion now, so we'll look for a second, then discussion. So is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Have a second for Tony. Okay, now discussion. Sorry, Cassie.
Okay, just looking at the increase from 200,000 to 400,000 for stone and gravel aggregates. I don't think anybody asked yet about the increase, that $200,000 increase.
So for bituminous and stone and gravel, 1173 has a $2.1 million balance, and I want to pave more roads next year. So I'm increasing that, and I can sustain that increase through that $2.1 million balance.
Right.
Is there any further discussion on that motion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 Is there any opposed? That's sorry.
No, I still got one more before I can say it.
No, I know.
Before we go to 1112, on November 18th of 2023, the council approved approximately $427,000 of ARPA money to go towards the highway department invoices that have been overdue for some time.
You just did the commissioners meeting, I heard it.
No, I did not. Yes, I did. I have had some time now to research this further and have discovered that $195,549.75 of central paving invoices that was paid out of ARPA should have been paid from the grant fund of 9192 CCMG 2023-02 chip seal grant program. I have already turned in a claim to pay back ARPA by that 195,549.75.
Don't you get the ARPA money because you paid it back?
Get what I want.
No, you won't.
What you gonna ask when asked back?
Yeah, I'm not.
Eventually. But, so I just want to let you know that. So
Yeah.
that's
good
$200,000.
because We do have one possibly fairly big bill, it may not be, but Don and I have been working together on this for years now on the jail locks. Stanley's got a new quote, we already put out 43,000 and it's sitting there.
Yeah, no, we didn't use it.
Because of me, I want to hold, not Stanley, our guy, but Stanley, the company, feet to the fire
Absolutely.
before we move forward, but theoretically, we may have to come up with 30,000 at least to cover that
Right.
balance in line if we change those. So we don't have any money for that right now, that ARPA money, don't have money for that.
Is this one's labeled that?
Yes, so we're gonna talk about 1112 next, but you are only gonna look at the roads and bridge line.
Okay,
Roads and bridge line, that's the only one that I mess with out of there for highway. So every year since about 2016, the council has allotted $750,000 to go toward highway projects. This money is used to apply for CCNG money as well as NOFA, which is for national something, it's bridge grant program for federal. Although I could carry this in 1173 for a year or two. Without seeded, I am not gonna be able to apply for CCMG projects anymore or NOFA projects. So I just wanted to put my input in of how important it is for that seeded money to go to highway for those projects.
It will be here.
I'm not opposed to a reduction of it. Not next year though,
1112,
not next year. Yeah, 112, you're gonna look at the
but not this
750.
year, you're saying next year.
Not next year, only because Bridge 137 was applied for funding 5 years ago. It was estimated to cost $1.2 million, no, $1.5 million. It's now gone up to $2.1 million. So far, NDOT does not have extra money to sustain that $600,000
So you're campaigning
increase.
on that, leave it.
I need to leave it for
Okay,
2025.
so I have a question for you about this. So since I've taken over the rail yard.
Mhm.
In the, understanding that all the bills that your office gets from the rail yard, normally we get the money back from the two buildings, correct? All
Oh, you mean highway? I don't have.
no, let's go to.
Auditor, okay, yes. Yes, you get that money back through their rail car fee they pay every year.
Because the rail car fee is too low. is the problem. So I'm trying to-
Right?
No, so what they did, when they did the rail car, redid the rail car fee, which was really Kathy.
Kathy dropped it down.
They dropped it down, but it's not just that, the companies also pay, they take all the maintenance bills from the year and then they split it.
Yeah.
With those 2 or 3, so they're paying the maintenance on it, plus they're paying that $10 rail car.
I'm just concerned about it. The reason why is because of somewhat of neglect with the contractor. Nothing to do with the county, nothing to do with the Economic Development Foundation. Don and I are gonna meet with one of the companies this week. They want to try to bid for us, they've been sending us bills or quotes, Janice and I. to try to do monthly inspections. I think Norfolk and Southern feels like if we keep going the way we are now, being more responsive. Holding the other companies feet to the fire. Plus, there's a lot of two other contractors that do this as well. But I just wanted to make sure that. Since Economic Development Foundation is the only one, two, and we're here at 1112 right now. That we don't need to add something extra for rail. So we're comfortable feeling like we will get all that money back.
Yeah, rail is a different fund. Rail comes out of 9115.
So they'll pay the maintenance. fee,
Yes.
right? We won't pay nothing.
While I'm thinking about it, I just know that you're coming back after our reason.
With your permission, since you've gotten through the big budgets, I would like to,
Okay, that's why I'm asking that.
I would like to leave after I'm done.
Okay, so what else do you want to know about 112?
All I want is the $750,000 for next year, and then we'll talk about how we can reduce that in 2026.
But if you're gonna lose something, you don't really want to reduce it too
No, I
much.
don't really want to reduce it.
Well, we
Yeah.
talked about reducing 1112 to 500,000 this year.
How about we do that in 2026? Because, only because, Bridge, if you want Bridge 137 done, I'm gonna need the money.
How about we split it? How about we make it 750?
Well, are you gonna help me with 600 East?
No,
And
not.
that's the other thing we all need to talk, we do need to go back and talk about 600 East at some point too.
Because
The public is interested in it, EMS is interested in it, the fire departments are interested in it. We do need to go back there. I'm just saying that.
Oh,
So,
you're talking about the bridge.
yeah,
Okay, I thought you meant the paving. I was gonna say it's a pretty good road.
yeah, no,
Okay, gotcha.
about getting the bridge back over there. There needs to be a bridge over that. So that's another reason why I would say not take it away, because we need to start gearing up for that. Like, we're growing in Starke County. It's ridiculous that our main road to Hamlet doesn't go all the way to State Road 8. So I'm just throwing that out there too. So I'm just saying, I'm supporting you because of that, not taking the 250 away.
I just want you.
But while we're in here, we need to look at the other things too. One of the things that I haven't done, but on the economic development side also, assume the responsibility and perpetually the proposal with the commissioners was. And I've already talked to Janice and the lead director knows this, is that we will work with the Economic Development Foundation more closely with our assets, which are our rail yard and our firewall. What I want to do is sit down with Norton and say, hey, you guys pay the whole bill, and then if other people use it, then they'll pay.
Which they told me to absolutely do that.
And I go to church with Jim
Yeah,
Cook too,
I
so
talked to my ears.
I haven't had a chance to sit back down with him, but we both talked to him, so
And what is this now?
for the 7,500 for the firewall.
Okay,
I say let's leave it for 25, but by the time we do the next budget, we'll have that taken care of. Either they will start paying us when they use it and we'll still pay it. Or they'll just pay it, like, kind of like we do the rail yard type thing, is.
When someone else joins in, they could add to it.
Exactly, and that's the thing, from the Economic Development Foundation perspective, we always thought we would get an additional people in there. It looks like it's all gonna be Norton for some time, so we need to resolve it.
so can somebody explain to like these other allotments coming out of this tax money, like the curbsy grant fee, are
So-
we required to
Yeah,
give
so
that to
every
them?
year we do different grants with Curbsy. If you want to continue doing different grants with Curbsy, that's the fee you pay every year.
And what have we gotten back from that is my question.
We've gotten
Curbsy.
about $1.5 million from 2018 to about 2022. We haven't really had anything from them since 2022. Because we haven't been applying for anything. It's up to us to reach out to Curbsy, and sometimes they reach out to us and say, hey, you should apply for this, and we just haven't applied.
And then the 3,500 to the economic development. That
pays
foundation.
one bill, that pays one North Hudson water bill per year. I don't really know too much about it, but it sells something with the North Hudson Industrial Park. Which is all.
We'll make it a point to look into that too, to see if we can get out of under that one too. I hate, but let's make a note of that, like. I hate to take it away this year, but that's a good point. Gabe.
There's
We
just
should look into that
some
and see if
other,
we can get out.
and the county commissioners $25,000. I just don't know what, I didn't ask this last year, maybe because I didn't think of, or I didn't look closely enough.
I mean, just historically, that's what it's been called, county commissioners, but like if we need a attorney for a lawsuit, or if they need, it's
discretion.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Let's, so it's just, it's for certain things that the commissioners may need throughout the year. Because if you don't budget it, then you have to go through the additional appropriation process, and the additional appropriation process is expensive.
The only other thing that leaves is the 159,480 for the Economic Development Foundation. And I think that now that we have a new director, I think we're moving in a new direction. As a board member, I'm gonna say that I feel like we're gonna keep on, making some changes. I'd like to see us, try to move forward and have some security for the new director, and continue and revisit, just watching more closely.
And we did, I would like to say this, because I know Bruce has talked about it, we talked about it recently, is we're going to do some kind of something like board, I mean, we talked about some kind of term limits and stuff like that too.
Yes.
Because I know a lot of these guys have actually mentioned that to me, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Well, we do want to come back, the three of us, at least, with our seats on the board, we want to come back and talk about that, about term limits, about looking at the board again, just to see if there's stagnation. I mean, even, Janice, there, we have some people that just don't show up, and so we need to revisit.
And I get that, I'm just bringing it up with the talk.
If you look at the recommendations that was submitted by the consultant, I mean, that is one of the big things, was a term limit.
So we had a consultant submit a report,
Yeah,
so why do we need to?
Maybe something
That permit was, or that report was just about the board itself, about the makeup of the board and what they did. It wasn't about the money that we're paying them. They talked about the board members, stagnation,
Reduce it.
Separating from skill.
which we've done, but the board member has never been changed.
there is another way to look at that, guys. When you brought up stagnation, and Janice probably knows more than we do. Obviously, if you're not attending on a regular basis or a sufficient basis, let's face it, you're not that interested in your position. Would everybody agree with that? Okay, so maybe that can be assessed. I don't have a problem with term limits, but another way to look at that would be that you're required to attend so many meetings a year to retain your position on the board. See what I mean? And then if you didn't fulfill that obligation, if you didn't fulfill that obligation, then you weren't reappointed to the board.
And we've done that the last 2 years.
I got you,
We've
but
actually done that, yeah.
that's an alternative to term limits. Because if you have
It's an alternative, I mean, you could get somebody to just.
I
Yeah.
respectfully disagree.
Okay.
That
Sure.
showing up for me does not, in my opinion, does not take the place of term limits.
I'm not saying it takes the
You know,
place, I'm saying it's an alternative, because if you have somebody that's great on that board, shows up for every meeting, puts a lot of work into it, puts her heart and soul into it. And then you gotta kick them off because of term limits. You're, in my mind's eye, you'd be losing a really good person on the board due to term limits.
I just got our council of commissioners, we're good on everything, but we still have the 4 years. We have.
I understand. I understand.
Say what we do, so bylaws.
but the term limits are not in the bylaws. They were just in that proposal. It was never.
I'm not saying it as I'm not saying it could just, it's not the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we vote on.
but what I'm saying is somebody spent, somebody. Okay.
Well,
Somebody
that's
spent all the
what I
money on
mean.
that before.
Lucky to
I
have.
mean,
Well, so my
You know-
question though is, why is this still on here?
Why
Why are we gonna pay $160,000?
That's the contract. That's the contract with them for a year. No,
And we have to have it every year?
So budget workshops always
That's
happen
right, yeah.
really early,
Yeah.
so even if there may
That's right,
slightly
right,
be a
2 years.
possibility that you're still gonna contract with them, you need to keep it in there.
Okay,
But that doesn't mean you have to use it, if it's, you can approve the budget, but if they're not, if the commissioners and the council are not gonna approve the contract, then it just sits there, it doesn't do anything.
As far as their contract, I've been pretty adamant about cutting it and doing away with it completely. And I'm not afraid to say that, but we have a new director. I think we need to give her a chance and give them a chance. But with that being said, one of 2 things need to happen. Either 1, we only do a 1-year contract, or 2, we do a 2-year contract with a way out. with the
Well,
cancellation.
when's the contract coming due?
It's March, right?
March of
It's coming,
2025.
It's
it's
March.
coming 25
March
anyway,
first.
so even if we approve it this year, we can still do what you're talking about next year, when the contract.
So the
Like,
consulting
just go
fee
back
is
to
money
this
that
is just-
we don't,
just
because the
approving
way
that
it's written,
appropriation.
it makes it look like
You don't
it's
have
paid to
use that
some
appropriation.
agency
You don't wanna-
other.
No, that's true.
Like
too.
it's
It is-
very
it is-
outside.
I would say
Is there a
make it-
private, is there a
Yeah.
private?
Right, but this goes
Not-
to our Economic Development Foundation.
It does.
Half of
Okay.
it, so
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
commissioner still
70,000
control that,
goes
even if
still.
we approve the amount, I'm just saying, let's leave the amount,
I
because
thought they
the
separated.
foundation needs it, they've lost.
it's
All-
in one line.
But they haven't paid
They
any
draw,
wages,
so they draw
for
separately
seven,
from
three.
that line.
because there's been no.
Right,
record.
well,
Yeah,
that's
1 month.
Right.
No, I don't disagree, I'm just talking about prospectively,
Yeah.
they're still gonna need that
Yeah.
amount to be able to pay the new director and cover the
And that's fine.
expenses that they used to cover. You know.
Yeah. I mean, I think she deserved a chance.
So are we ready to make the motion to close out 1112 then, since we talked about all the lines?
So we're done. I mean,
We're not-
what are you saying for us here?
Well, what I'm saying is, I don't know if this needs to be part of the motion. What I'm saying is that I think we need to give her a chance. Personally, myself, I'm not in favor of a 2-year contract. Unless there's a way out.
So we'll visit that with the commissioners in 25, I mean, I'm just
Yeah.
saying, right now, we're under contract still.
Until
I just,
25.
I wanna make sure that the amount stays, just because they need it.
That's fine. That's fine.
But we can change what we need to do, is
That's not
the
really-
3 of us
That's
are
my-
organization,
my
so we
whole
bring
thing.
that up in the
We
final
can't-
organization
I don't
files,
think
but
you
I
guys-
agree with you, we need to carry
Yeah,
it.
you need to follow what that report says.
And
And
I
we never,
talked with Howard, then we lose people and then we don't have a board. You know, so we get.
A lot of good boards suffer that. I'm just in defense of what Howard said, or what Todd said. Like, I was on, I've been on some boards and I termed out and then I came back, after being off the term.
But at some point, we had too many on that board, and so it was reduced.
Yeah.
Now we're
because of the-
reduced.
Another thing might be a good idea as a work study, to just look at it again, like as a, or in one of our regular meetings. But we need to evaluate that, and we need input from each one of the members, especially the county members, to see, has it been effective so far, because maybe it hasn't, and then we can determine that, so. Kay and I will, and I'm sure Mark will support that too, is we're gonna need to make sure that happens on our side, since we're the representative.
Like, you just have it in there, like, say, where you can kick them off the board.
We do. We've had some people in before, you run that, didn't they? Oh, they do national over here, hospital's one of them. You know, but do you have anything? I mean, am I allowed to talk right now?
I mean, actually, the good time might be in our regular meetings, because we're in budget session right now, but like, we're not gonna, because all we're doing right now is trying to.
Is there any discussion, like we have talked about before about, and I understand since we talked about covenants not to compete for the new directors. There was a ruling, I think, by the administrative branch of the federal government that's trying to throw them out the window, but I think that's being challenged in courts. But I mean, I would still like to see something like that, at least discussed and put into place because.
I don't know if
There are
there's budget
many-
funds for that, but I know what you're talking about, because there's been people that were concerned about previous directors working with. I have to tell you, just my personal opinion, Kathy, is, I don't have a problem with that. If somebody betters themselves, after I rethought it, I don't see what the big deal is, to be honest. I mean, as long as they didn't get paid during the time that they were as the director, got paid, something extra. I don't see the problem with that, because I feel like it would limit the employees. If Rachel wanted to say, or if she wanted to go work for an aggregate company after working for the highway department for 5 years and work for TCS or somebody else, we should be allowed to do that too, so.
Well, and like it was brought up by one of the elected officials at one meeting, their term limited out. So how can we hold them to a? We just can't.
Not for elected officials.
The only
No.
thing, and I don't know, Cassie, you probably would know this better than the rest of us, is them being a private corporation and we're just under contract with them. I don't know if you could make a contract to stipulate.
The
No, they
foundation.
would have to.
Yeah, they would have to. We
Right.
couldn't do it. They would have to do it.
But I mean,
Yeah.
this board has, or this council has, leaned on other organizations to take certain steps, or there were, and I'm not saying there was a threat of us not fully funding them. So we,
I wouldn't say that.
I think they've been threatened before with having funding yanked. If they didn't meet certain conditions, so they're sitting right here.
Now, that wasn't a threat, that was watching out for the taxpayers' money. I take really, that really upsets me that you say a threat.
I didn't.
All right, well, let me rephrase that then. There has been conditions placed upon them. Or else they would be looking at having.
I think since we have the
Because you're down here.
I got it.
we have the director here and the current chair. I think that the note should be taken that you're asking that to be brought before the board as an agenda item to discuss that.
I agree.
You know, and discuss it within the board, you know, because the thing is, in any situation where there's board governance. Just like we do with the park board, there's a lot of things that they discuss on their own and they make their own decisions. I think the Economic Development Foundation should have the. You know, should at least address that first with the board and then bring it back to commissioners and council. Where that opinion is get back, because, you know, to your point, Kathy, there could be that the rest of the board agrees that there should be a stipulation, so I think it should be discussed.
Because that's one of my hesitations.
Add that to our next agenda. Make a motion, we accept 1112 as advertised.
Second it.
Second, phone. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? All right.
You didn't ask if there was further.
Okay, the last one, sorry.
Because I'm saying right now, I will vote aye to give the new director a chance, but I have publicly expressed some reservations about things that have gone on with the past directors of the Development Commission. In order, and because a lot of the reason I feel okay with this, Todd, is because you voiced the fact that you're in favor of approving it now too. And
Yeah, I think we owe them a chance.
So I'll go along with that.
Right, I feel, 100%.
Can we make sure we have that extra, discussion on the record, please? And then I'll ask again, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Is there any opposed?
See, 2 months ago.
So, the last thing, the one thing I do want to tell you guys before, you leave, before you go into more budgets, is 3 or 4 years ago, the council approved a 7.5% increase for paramedics and EMTs. That increase has been coming out of seated all this time because of all the director turnover in EMS. Nobody has been able to budget in that 7.5% increase into county general, which is 20 EMS.
Go
So,
to page 6, everybody.
yeah, if you want to go through the EMS budget, when you see that there is more of a 3% increase for the payroll lines, that's why 7.5%.
So are you
Gotta
saying
go.
everything else was 3%?
Yes,
What's the software?
no, I'm just talking payroll. I didn't.
Right, no,
Yeah.
but for the payroll stuff, otherwise, you're saying we don't need to worry about asking about that. Ambulance equipment, let's just start, Jim.
Hey, can I interrupt you a second? You don't need these people anymore.
Well, that's the problem, we have the Economic Development Foundation fund.
No, you're for the appropriation for possible funding.
I thought there was a-
It was misleading.
We are. approved.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you know what time your council meeting will be?
The council meeting, well, the continuation will be at 2:00, because I promised everybody a 1 hour lunch break.
Okay, so, but we got another hour till the budget, right?
No,
The budget part of it's gonna go pretty quick.
I'm just saying, she wanted to speak and you told her your next meeting.
We can do the next one. I know I can't come back, but. Yeah, I can come back to the next meeting and speak. I just wanted to talk about.
well, the meeting's actually today.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Do you got any ideas since you don't have to set your bill?
Right, well, I mean.
Your
the budget doesn't
PCs from
change.
1 to 2, right?
Yeah, and then lunch
Okay,
break, yeah.
so 2:00.
2:00,
Okay,
2:30.
2:00.
Sorry.
Or even 2:30.
I just figured that might
Yeah,
take a
make
little
it-
longer, but also it's not gonna change this number, like this is said, it's a contract, you know what I'm saying, so.
Yeah.
You know, even if you want to campaign about more.
Our meeting's at 3:30.
If you don't want to come back today. you can come back today.
Oh, okay.
Typically 4:30, right? I couldn't make it at 4:30. Yeah. And here. There we go. Oh, thank you. Could you do me a favor?
All right.
Are you gonna be here all day, Tony?
You have it here?
I am.
Oh, you mean you're gonna have it? We'll let Sarah write it.
And let me know. The actual meeting starts.
Okay, so,
Try to get.
I'll tell you the next one, not the budget.
I have something to ambulance, let's just look at ambulance equipment.
You leaving, Don?
We're running a lot more calls.
Yeah.
We just moved out, we're putting a transfer truck on the 24 hours.
Which equipment is that?
That covers anything, basically anything that we want to get the transfer truck.
Is the hospital supposed to reimburse some of that, right?
They don't.
Is there any way we can hold their feet to the fire more?
I'm trying to get a meeting with the new CEO, Greg, and I've asked him for it, because there's something that he's presented to a different place. Which will, if we can get it up and running, we'll bring our revenue up $75,000.
Are you thinking that could be something that we could put back to 21 until budget hearing, we try to have this meeting, or we, what,
On the ambulance supplies. Where are we at? I'm sorry.
21 to 30? I mean, normally you're going up like 2,000.
Oh, ambulance equipment.
Yeah,
No, actually, that was a misprint.
or is
That
it possible to go with 23?
I was thinking 23, 25, somewhere in that general vicinity. That covers some things like broken stuff.
Right, no, that's what I was wondering, let's put it at 23, maybe that's when you got the, let's put that at 23,000, and then the service contract for 9,000, what does that cover? Well, something new, obviously.
10,040.
That service contract actually covers the new was that are assigned. Yeah.
What you
No, that's for the buildings. This is for the video cameras, the Wi-Fi, the locators that are
Made a
inside.
mistake, he said.
the same every year, is that some of that startup?
That's same every year.
Right. What about software, how does that go up by 20,000?
Software, we're getting ready to run out of software money, because of the program that we're using, the Acumen.
Yeah.
They charge some percentage basis. But I would say that we could change that. I can always come back and ask for a different appropriation if I need it. We can go
Or
back
move it from somewhere else?
or move from somewhere else.
So like, what would be more comfortable? Because it looks like you will usually go up, like you made a big jump from 22 to 23, which was before you, but that's what we were told then, is what we just said, like that big jump was.
We've got to go on for 10 grand. That was a hidden fee, not so much a hidden fee. It was more of a, hey, you're averaging now more than you've ever averaged.
But theoretically, doesn't that mean our income goes up too, though?
Well, I got it. I can tell you what our income has been progressively for the last 40 years.
I seen it, that's what I mean, so what you're saying is it probably could be comfortable with 50,000 instead of 60,000.
Yeah, I would go with 50,000 if I have to move it from somewhere else.
And then tell us about ambulance repair, because I thought that was gonna improve when you bought those other two ambulances.
It did, but they're getting the 4 other ones have over 200,000 miles in. Right now, one's in shop, but one's with a transmission or a body control module. We had 2 of them break. Even the Grovertown was over 200,000 miles. I mean, it's something to patch them back together because it's a year and a half to 2 years before I can get them another ambulance. Nobody has one. I was gonna try and get one on the books to get started now. That way we have it for 2025, 2026. Okay, but they keep them patched together. One just cost $4,000 for a new front end. And that was one of the units. That's 2021. The roads were kicking there and off.
30,000 increase is way less than a new ambulance, so I'm not gonna fight you on that. So for the council knowledge, and I'll close my mouth, but right now we're looking at reducing 20800 to 23,000. 30805 to 50,000. Now we'll defer to my colleagues. Other questions?
I do have a question that's probably, it's not maybe following exact line with this. Corrections, are we using a private company to collect?
We are
A billing company?
We are using a private company,
Okay,
which just got sold to, if I were to been at the original meeting for the first company that we've had multiple issues with,
right,
I would have never chose that company.
Okay.
Because of all the
but we are using a private billing company. Now, in your opinion, how are corrections with it?
Do you want me, I can give you the figures
Well,
from 4 years ago from to now.
I mean, has it improved?
Yes.
Okay, I mean,
Drastically.
it's since we went from billing ourselves to hiring a billing company, you're saying it's drastically improved.
not from billing ourselves. Billing ourselves, we were getting like roughly right around break even point.
Right,
Right now, from just instance, so when we started, we were paying $8,085 from the beginning. From 1/1/21 to 1/1/22, we brought in $663,000. From 1/1/22 to 1/1/23, we brought in $447,000. From 1/1/23 to 1/1/24, with it putting in the transfer truck, we're $703,000. Right now, with the transfer truck and some of the new implementations, we are sitting right now at $510,000. We still got 6 months left to go.
right.
So we should be, if we use the lower number, I'm looking at $1.1 million to bring back in.
So. Big picture is by using a private billing company, your money ahead.
Yeah, we're getting money ahead.
That was a question.
Yeah, and looking into the future, we're gonna be even higher.
Okay,
Are there any questions for Jim? Would like to make a motion, or would somebody prefer that I do since I have the numbers in front of me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Make a motion that we approve EMS budget 0020 with the following two changes, from 20800 from 30,000 to 23,000. 30805, which is the software, from 60,000 to 50,000. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Tony. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And then with that, we will break for the conference for 1 hour and
We got all the receiving.
move back to